I almost didn't. I forgot to do it one time. So, Kaylin, if you want to go, check the emails. There's a link to the steering committee, that one we did, and then we started doing family programming. And there's a link to that one too. I think one of them I forgot to record, and I don't remember which one it is. We are recording this one today, though. We went from family programming to a big issue that I wanted to touch on, because if you don't get moving on it, and this also will be a big discussion, by the way, guys, it's not going to be a speaking engagement, and please, I hope y'all are okay with this. The thing I want to talk about today is how to fund things. All right, funding strategies and project processes and all, because if the funding isn't there, you'll never get it open. If the funding doesn't stay there, you're going to go through things, and I will tell you, if you go decades, you will probably go through things. So you got to know how to respond and how to recover, how to avoid if possible, etc. All right. So I would like to ask you guys. Oh, before I forget this. Told you I'm emptying some of my storage space. I have in one of those storage spaces this massive amount of debt. This is for the Houston floor, unless somebody wants to drive a truck. Houston. I have in one of my storage spaces a massive amount of decorations for social functions, specifically for 3 of them. There's one for something we used to do called a Crab-A-Rama for the adolescents and young adults, and that's where we went down to Freeport as a group and rented a building, and that's where we had the crab toss. I think I mentioned that in one of the classes. Had the crab toss and a whole bunch of other things down there. It'd be potluck, and it was a really fun thing. We had something called the Crab-A-Rama. We have some of the decorations for that. And the other one, actually, there's 2 places, 3. The other thing is a Halloween. We would have a big Halloween function. I've got a guillotine. I have ravens, stuffed ravens that are real ravens. I've got this big tree that you put all this junk on it. There's skulls, there's mummies, there's all sorts of stuff. So if you guys are, because I'm not doing that kind of thing right now, if you have any interest, let me know later. You can have it free. You just have to take it out of the storage space. That's it. We got that out of the way. All right, so funding. What programs do we have represented here right now? We've got Michelle and James. Y'all tell how you guys are funding or what you're thinking about right now.
Were you asking us, John?
Yeah.
We don't really know. We do have someone, we've created an advisory board, and we do have someone on the advisory board who's well connected at the county and state level. And he has mentioned several times that he can get us space. The problem has been the space he's been talking about giving us is pretty far from our recovery school, and our thought process is we need to have, at least in the beginning, the AAPG physical location be as close to the recovery school as possible to try to build that base of kids by being easy for them to get to. And the space he's been talking about is probably 30 to 45 minutes from that. So the answer is we don't really know.
And you don't know where the money's going to come from to pay staff and those kind of things?
Yeah, I do know currently our recovery school kids are really well resourced. And so the parents have just thrown money at me anytime I've said, hey, we need some money to buy pizza or whatever. So starting with the parents, but we need long-term funding. Did you have thoughts on that?
No, I didn't.
All right.
For once, no.
All right. Let me take that case and kind of begin to build from that. All right. We mentioned this in the last week, and that is, first of all, I'm going to go at the very beginning. You have to make it possible. There's two general processes for funding to come in. The organization of that funding, one of them is what we call profit making, and the other one is nonprofit. Everybody knows that, right? What you might not know is what the difference is. And we went over this some last week too, I know. But I'm going to touch it again. Nonprofit is, it comes in and there is a board who gets no economic benefit in any way whatsoever out of the money that comes through. And the board can make any and all decisions, all right? And it is possible for problems to arise from that. It's also possible for really good things to arise from that. So it just, again, remember what I said about you have to learn to go through things and how to respond and recover, etc. That's nonprofit. Profit making is a person or a group of people organized in some way, is they actually can take part in the money that comes in. All right. I'm going to stop there. That's kind of a beginning question, and then I'm going to run down to the very end. All right. The finest full-service alternative peer group programs. This is what it looks like. Let's take the city of San Antonio. All right. San Antonio would probably have about 8 different locations that alternative peer groups would meet, where young people would meet. And then out of that, I said 8, I meant 18 different locations in San Antonio. If it was really, really doing what it needs to do for the community, about 18. Each one of those groups would have about 30 young people in it and their families. Some would have more, some would have a little less, depending on stages they're going through, how long they've been open, etc. All right. Each one of those groups would have at least one night meeting and usually a weekend meeting. Usually and typically, in the very best of cases, there's a evening meeting on a Tuesday or Thursday night and a Saturday morning meeting to kind of get things going for the weekend so the social activities develop, etc. In addition, of those 18, probably, and this is just, I'm guessing, let's say, of those 18 groups, you'd have probably 13 of them would be younger group, all right? And that would be ages 13 through 18. You'd have about 3 of them would be older group, which would be 18 to 24, and then the other 2 would be your over-the-hillers, the 25 and up. Each one would have family groups, all right, and they'd all have social activities. About once a month, the whole city would gather together for a big activity. You remember the Halloween thing I just mentioned to you, the Crab-A-Rama? Once a month, one of those things would happen. It could be as simple as a dance or as extravagant as a big Christmas party or a gala, fundraising gala, all right, at Junior League. In addition to that, in a full-blown program, though, you will have, in San Antonio, you would probably have 2 adult sober living centers that carry about 12 people each. You'd have 2 adult for females, 2 for males. You'd probably have 4 what we call adolescent foster care homes. They fall under the licensing of foster care, but they are actually, sober living for adolescents. You might also have a few houses that were what we have called in the past host homes. You have to be careful with that. Be very, very careful with it. It's done, but the big problems can pop up for your program if it's not done very carefully and very right. In addition to that, in a full-blown, all right, in San Antonio, you would have 3 full-blown residential programs taking insurance, etc. All right, 3 of them. Each one would be carrying about 15 clients at a time. It would be ranging. 2 would be for adolescents, 1 would be for your adults. In addition to that, you would have some detox centers that were part of that residential. In addition to that, you would have probably 4 locations that you were running intensive outpatient programs. all within this same organization. All right. You also might, in a full-blown, you may well have alternative peer group trained counselors that are part of your staff that are on contract working with adult probation. You might have, in San Antonio, you might have 4 of them, and probably 3 to 4 in adolescent, working with adolescent probation. And all they do is work back and forth with probation. You might also have a counselor that's stationed at the VA to help those people get into the long-term adult program. And you would also have, you could easily have, you actually owned the school. The school is actually a full-blown part of the program. You might have 2 campuses in San Antonio, by the way. Trying to think, you got the idea. It can be gigantic. You might have a full-time staff of 300 employees. Easy, right? And it's when it gets to be as big and as massive as possible. So what you have is, on the one end, where am I going to have a meeting? You know what I mean? In the beginning. On the other end, you've got psychiatrists that work for you, so you can take care of those situations that require an MD, you know, that kind of thing. But they work for the program. The program doesn't work for them, that kind of thing. So in between there are all different ways of funding and everything. If you'll notice in that last part, I said you would be on contract with juvenile and adult probation. They might actually provide some of the funding for your liaison counselors that work there. All right. One of the foster care group homes for girls was actually from, in one of the cases that I'm thinking of, was actually coming from the, again, the juvenile justice, juvenile justice group. It was a contract type thing. There's lots and lots of things to do. Any questions so far? Okay. What I just described to you is not the biggest program that ever existed, but it was one of the bigger ones, and there have been bigger ones. So there have been 2 ways. Not only can there be nonprofit approach and there is profit making, you can have both doing things also, depending on what they are. You just have to be very careful and remember what the limitations are and what problems can arise, and be ready for it and deal with it. But again, I'm thinking about what you guys are doing right now. In that continuum, the reason why I took you through it, think for a second about where you are on it, okay? What do you need next?
We need, well, are you talking about funding wise, what we need funded? We need funding for a physical space and probably 2 full-time and 2 part-time employees.
Okay. All right. Have you done, this gets down to the next thing in here, have you done a business plan?
I've got it in my head. It's not in paper yet.
That's fine. I don't get him. If I ask you an embarrassing question, just tell me, kiss your butt. Go on. No, don't be embarrassed, please, because
I've written a lot of business plans. It's something I really enjoy.
All right.
Doing.
Would be a good idea. Put it together, and there's some things there that you can start to look at, because there's money that comes in that takes care of needs. There's also things that aren't money that come in and take care of needs. For example, churches actually historically have enjoyed hosting facilities for this type of work. You got to find the right one at the right time, but your family group can help you find some of that. We've got a text. Let me see if we got somebody that's got trouble. No. Okay.
Right. So churches, free
Find,
space.
yeah, find a space. And the program has a tendency to move you in directions. As you do and build and run this program, it'll move you in directions that'll answer some of the questions and funding needs. For example, there have been times when we didn't have in Atlanta, right? When we opened in Atlanta, there was no building, there was no church, there was no nothing. The first meetings were held in the back of a pickup truck. They were held, and they were real, you know. They were small, but they were in the back of the pickup truck. What happened is, as those families started putting things together, one of the families says, you know what? For a while, we can use my basement. So then it moved into the basement. One of the family members there said, let me go talk to my pastor. Moved into the church, you know, and these things, they go that direction. Be really, really open for anything to happen, but be really, really organized in what you're looking for. But don't let the organization keep development from happening. It's a trick you got to be careful about. You can get so wrapped up in your business plan that you can't see an opportunity when it's knocking on the door, you know, and because it doesn't fit what my plan was, those kind of things.
Can I ask you a question?
You bet. Please ask questions. Please.
Yes. After listening to you and everything about the profit and the nonprofit, so are there any managed care contracts that is a funding source that probably come from the federal, state, or local channels in order to support a program like this?
Yes. The answer is yes. What are they? I don't know. I'd have to research it to find it.
Got
But the
you.
answer is yes. One of the things that you guys have in your favor is you're working with the alternative peer group. And peer recovery is a big deal right now, which cracks all of us up who've been doing it for 50 years. It's like, hello, yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah, okay. But take advantage of it. It's real popular. Get on in there now because it won't stay popular. A new thing will become popular, which means when that happens, look at what it is and see what it is. The beauty of an alternative peer group treatment approach is it can match up with almost anything because you're working with all parts of the disease. If you are embracing this disease, according to the research, it's 18 months to 4 years, all right? What happens during that time, you've got neurological issues if the neurological side becomes, you know, famous or popular. You've got family issues if family becomes popular. You've got legal issues if that side becomes, you know, there's always something to play on. The reason why I drug you through the San Antonio program is for you to see all those different aspects. Juvenile, adult probation, residential, sober living, blah, 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 blah. Almost all of those things that I mentioned to you, almost all of them had direct funding opportunities. There's a difference between direct and indirect also. Direct is where somebody gives you money. I don't care whether it's a fee or whether it's a grant or whatever. Indirect, and this is the thing that has been so hard for rank and file residential programs to grab hold of, and if you can find somebody that'll listen to you, this is a funding option too, okay? Let's say you knew the CEO of Hospital Corporations of America, HCA, a giant thing. And let's say y'all were hanging out and having lunch because you just finished playing golf. And you get to talking about this alternative peer group thing, okay, that you're working with and running. And he goes, well, tell me about that. Well, you go, this is what happens, blah, 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 blah. The people come in, the families come in. At times we have to have residential, and so we have to refer out. Out to who? All right, you see what's going on? Well, out to who? Well, we refer to this residential. Why do you refer to them? Because they understand the alternative peer group program and will work with us and won't screw our clients over in the process. All right, won't, you know, ship them on somewhere else. Why does that matter? And then you get into talking about program hopping and how that injures the recovery process. And then you mentioned to him also they like it because in the 18 months to 4 years, if somebody does relapse and has to go in, they don't program hop to another place. They go back to that residential program or IOP or whatever. His businessman goes, oh, that means those dollars, treatment dollars, stay in that community. That's right, they do. There is a backside financially to this that makes these kind of organizations possible partners. They are hard-headed. They are caught in this 30-day treatment model. They can't get their heads around this other thing. When they have, it's made huge differences to them. The reason why I mentioned HCA was born out of the residential program that partnered with PDAP back in the 70s. They don't remember it. It made them into an absolute giant, before the big blow up came that managed care and all that. Even before that, their leadership changed and they forgot where they came from and they started moving towards med-surg, a lot of med-surg instead of. But these things, look around, there might be a struggling residential program that will allow you to talk to them about methodology, all right, and work out a way, and it has to be ethical and it has to be clean, you guys. This is another thing. If you're nonprofit, you have to be careful with these things. If you're profit making, you can't have referral fees or any of that kind of stuff. You can't do that. But you can partner on the therapeutic side and somehow dole out the dollar. But you have to be very careful in how you do it, all right? It also will help the program because when I asked about, who was it I was asking? I was asking Janelle. Janelle is getting ready to go talk with, I just mentioned your name, you're in trouble. No. Janelle is getting ready to go talk with somebody and there was method to why I asked you what was going to happen with those folks because I knew we were going to be talking about this. She's got a client that is in detox, or a couple of clients in detox, all right? Well, something needs to happen with them for their own good where they get tied into this continuum of care that goes on and on and on. So that's another opportunity is look at the folks in the community. And if you can find one that'll listen, that really understands business, there are pluses for them business-wise as well as pluses for them. HCA loved it because guess what? When Carol Burnett's daughter came through, HCA was the clinical organization that worked for it, and that just boosted them into orbit. There are a lot of people who've made lots and lots and lots of money off alternative peer group programs. Unfortunately, I'm the Jimmy Dean boy, but but it's been good. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying keep that in mind that there is a lot of economics that are going on, and I would rather see a program that is doing it right make money than a program that's preying on people. That's the way it's supposed to be in capitalism. If you do it right, you make money. Unfortunately, what we've got it down to is if you market it right, you make money, which gets us into the next tactic, marketing. How do you do this? Have you guys got any written materials produced yet? Anybody? I know some of you have.
Yes, we do. I don't know. The staff has not, the team has not seen it yet because it's not finished. I mean, it is finished, but I need to tweak some of it. But yeah, I do have an APG packet that lists out everything that our APG offers, including the family package and our family sessions and all that kind of stuff.
Great. And I think I showed y'all, here it is. Again, this is an old folder. Notice that family information, it's Lifeway. God knows how old this is. I pulled it out of storage, there it was. It's got massive amounts of things. I pulled from some of this in what I sent to you. Applications, the whole thing. this is a different time, and this is a place where I am so excited for what we do. And in this funding side of things, have any of y'all ever done a crowdfunding online?
No,
Look
I
into-
have.
Look into it. Look into
Okay.
it, guys. Printed material is, my opinion, it's just my opinion, is good as far as it goes, but we have a much, much better outlet right now. If we'll get down and break on down and use it. It's kind of like we didn't do these kind of reach out on a national basis until we were forced into it by the pandemic, you know. Now it's like, oh man, that's right, we can do this all over the place. Well, the same thing with this funding side of things. Start leaning into your social media. Lean in, lean in, lean in. The other day, I got asked by the signature group to turn in a file. I don't know if y'all know it or not, but I'm the classic old man with a guitar who sings grubby songs and, you know, does goofy stuff. And I've been doing that in speaking engagements and stuff for a very long time, making people listen to me. And some of them have actually developed some self-destructive taste. So the signature group that's doing this, it's like performance art, performance and visual art expo online, asked me if I would turn in some, you know, a couple of songs, you know, video and everything. I didn't know how to do that exactly, which is crazy because I actually produced directed commercials and industrial films and things like that long ago. But I fiddled around and I played the song with the Zoom. It was horrible. You know, Zoom squashes the guitar. You can't hear, it's awful. And then the guy who produced the old Freeway album, that group that we were all in, he said, you really want to know where the best camera is right now and the best audio? Your phone. The phone has a great microphone and a great camera. All these things you're watching on TV are shot on people's phones. So I set it up over in the corner over there with right in front of me, and I played, and I don't think I could have done a better job, you know, with a hunk of camera. So, and I'm saying all that to say to you, fiddle around, guys. Fiddle around. Jamie, what you guys are doing with the interviews and all of that, it's brilliant. It's brilliant, you know.
Thank you. Is
Man.
crowdfunding a website? I might actually have that. Isn't it like a website or a site that you can go? Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah. You'll have to do some research on it. My son is smart like his mother. He and his friend built. He's a programmer for IBM and more. He's really weird kid. Really smart and really understands all this stuff. He and his friend built a role play game. All right, you know, like D&D time. They built it. He did the art for all this other stuff, and they went on crowdfunding and they wanted to produce a thing, and they went on crowdfunding and got the monies they needed to print and distribute the beginning marketing of all of it. If you will research the crowdfunding thing, you might find some help there.
Yeah, I've done that. I've actually done it before. I raised $10,000 for the Erland Syndrome Foundation. It's been about 2 years ago now, but it was so simple because it was online and we did a video and you can do all kinds of things that explain what you're doing and why you want the money, and they can get all the information, and then it spurs them to donate. And it can be anybody, anywhere, not just local people you can touch. So it's very simple. And I'm not a fundraiser, Jamie, so I will help. But
Don't get that look in your eye.
Yeah, it's not my strong
I know we have an
suit, but I
account
did
because
do
Dustin
it.
opened one.
So
I just got to get our info from what it is, because when Dustin was doing the running club, he opened the account for crowdfunding. So that's why it rang a bell, but I wasn't quite sure. So that's good to know. And I'll make sure to put you in charge of fundraising.
No, but I will help you for sure. I just don't want it to be on my shoulders because that's not my strong suit. But I have done it, and I can't remember the site that we used. I'll have to go back and look it up. But
Cool.
but there's plenty of them out there. So
Cool, thanks.
One of the things to think about in this is there's two kinds of funding. There's something that you can put together that's going to be an ongoing, continual thing. All right. For example, in doing the adult APG here, I never turn, you can, and I do know organizations that do this, but I've never put together an organization that I had to turn anybody away for lack of money. Never, you know. You can, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, I found out real early on, I can't say, sorry, you can't write me a check. I can't work for you. Can't do that. Other people can, and that's okay. I just can't, you know. I probably would have been, you remember me saying a lot of people have made a lot of money and I'm not one? Well, this might have something to do with it, you know. But what I can do is I can look at somebody and say, all right, individual counseling is going to cost you $150 an hour, rather. Going to meetings and all the activities and everything is going to cost you $250 a month. But if you don't have that, that's fine. What can you pay every month? You know, at the top end, that's what we're looking for. Now, the reason why I do that, and you want to inspect the idea, that's ongoing income, all right? However many clients are in the program, it gives me an ongoing cash flow. Then I can gauge my hiring according to that. If I depend only on a crowdfunding $10,000 or a Jewish Community Center grant of $20,000 or something like that, comes, and then next year you're sweating to get it, and you got all these people who work for you, and if you don't get it, which you may not because something new is popular, you know, you end up letting it all go and your program gets beat up. This idea of setting up two levels of funding is what got BAP, Pathways, Lifeway through some big blow-ups over the years. These are the things that did it. Yes, you go after those big grants, but you don't become dependent on them. All right. You have to be careful about where you take money. State and federal funding and United Way sometimes can become very controlling and cut right to the heart of your alternative peer group programs. And you'll end up with a huge staff up top, and all of them are politically connected. None of them are talent-based hiring, and nobody gets well, but everybody gets paid. You got to be careful of that. Literally, I have seen that happen several times, and you just, it's not an easy thing. It's one of the reasons PADAP for 12 years turned down. Not only did they not seek federal and state funding or United Fund, actually turned it down. United Fund was angry they didn't get to fund PADAP at that time. Leadership at the time was like, no, I don't want handles on it. Might have been a mistake actually at the time, but nevertheless, it will happen. Trying to think.
John, can I ask a quick question?
You please, again.
And it may be something I should already know. But do you have any suggestions on, because I don't know anything about like the grant type of whole situation. Is there any like websites or resources that you recommend as far as maybe local grants or somewhere like that to start, like a good starting point on that?
I mentioned a few minutes ago, I mentioned that here's what I would do, because remember, we're talking about several different places in the country here on this call. Each place has different opportunities that are going on, and you want to go at these levels probably for local opportunities first. All right. Don't forget to build your ongoing funding. You know, the fees, the parent donations, whatever it is. Parent donations are very interesting. When you got a big parent group, it's great. When you don't have a big parent group, it can get really tough to keep clients around. I mean, to keep staff around so they can go out and talk to churches about what you can offer and keep parents up. You know, so you have to be a little bit careful of all that. But the reason why I'm going through all that, it depends on your community. In each one of your communities, I'll tell you who I would go to. Ask. You probably have a junior league. All right. Junior league usually has handles on it. There are people in the junior league that have handles on every bit of local and state funding that's going on. You have a family member that's connected to junior league or something like that, talk to them about helping out. That's a way they can help, is help get you. And then when you get there, get plugged into what's going on. There are websites, Jamie, definitely, you know, but can get so lost in filling out funding applications for cold things that it just wears you out, you know.
Yeah, that's what I had found some websites, and that's
Yeah.
what you were talking about with the junior league is exactly what I was looking for. So things like opportunities like that. So
Your
thank you.
church leadership usually has handles on that kind of stuff, or they know somebody in the church who has handles on that
Okay, thank you.
stuff. That's typically what I've done and what's worked for me in the past when I was doing that kind of thing.
Okay.
Other questions? No, God, it's amazing. It's amazing. All right, well, let's talk about tactics for a little bit because we've kind of been involved. We just actually broached into that, talking with your family. A tactic is your family group, all right? The other tactic is talking to your church or your, you know, whoever is hosting your things. The third tactic, remember, I mentioned was check out the residential programs. All right, what's around there? You guys, Michelle and James, are y'all, what you want to be careful of, because you're right now you're kind of dependent on the school to a degree. In the end, that's going to switch around, by the way. All will be
Yeah.
the great people who are referring to them and the ones who are helping people in the classroom to stay sober. And when there's problems, you'll be the one that they turn to and dump it on. So it'll shift. But you can talk with the school about, you know, some of the funding things. Are they nonprofit or are they publicly funded?
The school is actually a public school. It's a Seattle public school, and the backbone of that is the CDP there, Seth Welch, who you've met in the advisory board meeting you came to with us. And Seth continues to say that he's really hamstringed by the Seattle public schools and that we really need a private option. So we know that we're just laying the foundation with the people in the school, and then we plan to really branch out. And you know, one step at a time, baby steps. But
well, the reason why I was asking that is because the parents of the school are a resource that they're not using that heavily to keep things funded, probably in that case.
yeah, exactly.
Which means they're available to you without conflict of interest.
Exactly, and that's what's happened. I've been welcoming new parents for the last 6 months now, and they can't believe it's free. You know, what can I do? They want to throw money at it, and they can throw money at us. We just have to like transition that.
One of the cool things, the reason why I drug y'all through that biggest time ever, you know, not the biggest program rather, is if you'll notice there was several different funding points. Now there were contracts, like I said, with juvenile and adult probation at that time. There was a contract, I think, with juvenile justice on one of the foster care facilities. You had that. You had parents who were donating. We did not charge any fees at the time except for school tuition. There was a fee for that, but it was sliding scale, you know, and all the way down to zero. And so there were a variety, plus there were these parents were providing input, Jamie, into big funding donation type things. We had a multitude of funding sources, funding paths. That's what you want to do. By building a whole bunch of funding streams, you protect yourself for when one of the streams goes dry. Very important thing to do. And don't hesitate to do what fits. But in your case, I would definitely reach out. I would start working those parents and find out what resources they have, you know, from the school. And I believe you'll find everything you possibly can do. Other questions or ideas? Anybody seen something I have missed? Because I'm only going with what's coming out of my head here. So please, if you have something to share that you've seen that's worked, throw it out there. No? Okay. All right. I did make this announcement before everybody got on, and I need to say it again. This is a very important thing. It's an important day today. It's the 20th of May, and it's a national holiday. It is 10 days before my birthday. So my address is 13006 Orchard Green, Richmond, Texas, by the way. So at the next time we get together next week, anybody got something that you would really like to see the next? I have something in mind, but what would you like to see talked about next one?
If you have any strategies as far as like what's worked for you in marketing your APG, because for us, a lot of it, I feel like majority of it is, number one, we're a little bit far out for people in how to maybe overcome that obstacle. So maybe some marketing strategies that you found is successful.
All right. All right. Next time we'll start talking about marketing. Spreading the word. Spreading the word. Okay. Anybody else? Anything else? All right, Reagan, I like it a lot better when I can see your top knot. You got to quit this. That's got to end. And if nobody else got anything else, I'll say bye-bye. I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, John.
Thanks, Sean.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See you later.